everybody. Welcome. Hey, you guys. I hope you had a great week. You are watching the SongBike YouTube Guitar Q&A weekly live stream. Hey, you guys. Lots to talk about. I'm so excited. Here we are, the live stream where everything's made up. The points don't matter. That's right. Just like Django Reinhardt's ring and pinky fingers. What am I talking about? Well, I just put a link in the chat. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out that YouTube link in the chat. Django Reinhardt did what he did. He didn't need any ring or pinky fingers. Anyways, hey everybody. I'm here for your questions. In between your questions, I got a few things to throw your way, including a poll. The poll has begun. If you have the ability to check out our weekly poll, then I want to tell you about the poll question I have for you this week. Do you want to make your own original music? Is that why you play the guitar? Maybe it is. The poll has already begun. There's plenty of time for you to vote. We have 14 votes in already. Your options are, yes, definitely I want to make my own original music. Option 2, maybe we'll see. And option 3, nah. You want to play the classics. You want to play all the great stuff that came before, and that's why you picked up the guitar. And I'm sure you could imagine many other answers, but those are your 3 choices. Yes, no, maybe. Do you want to make your own original music? Is that why you play your guitar? And maybe it is. Okay, I'm going to say some hellos in a minute, but your questions are the #1 reason we're even gathered here today. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today for your questions. So if you have a guitar-related question for me and my Telecaster today, then go ahead and put it in the chat with a few question marks in advance of your question. In between your questions, I have in my hands here, I have a list. Here's some of the things that I hope we have time to talk about today. I want to do a follow-up. Last week, someone brought up a good point about walk-ups and walk-downs. You know, the whole that whole sound, and I want to do a follow-up on that. Someone else asked about exercises for speed and accuracy, and when I was time-stamping the live stream Sunday morning, I couldn't believe that I didn't think of an additional answer to that question. How do you work on your speed and accuracy? What's the trick to getting better picking speed and accuracy? Well, actually, both hands. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about an ear training app that it's right there on my phone. I really intended to use it every day, and I want to show it to you guys and show you some of the things it can do. As I was having a coffee, sitting outside of the cafe, getting a little sun today, I'm looking at the app and exploring it, which I never really did deeply, and I'm realizing, oh my God, there's so much of this app that I'm going to share like 10% of it with you today and encourage you guys to check it out. But there's a lot more to it, I realize. That is awesome. So I want to share with you, as I try to do all the time, some of my current favorite guitar players who are out there who are so cool and so talented and so inspirational, but you might not have heard of them before because some of them are relatively new to me, and so I'm guessing that they might be relatively new to you. But if you know these people already, fantastic. Otherwise, stay tuned, because I can't wait to share some of these names and YouTube links with you. We're going to explode a chord today. Boom! We're going to explode it. If you're curious as to what that means, stick around. We're going to explode a chord. I don't have a dumb question for you this week, so I need you guys to come up with a dumb question, okay? If you're asking a question and you have a feeling it's a dumb question, put a big DQ in advance, okay? DQ, like Dairy Queen. DQ, and then ask your question. I need you guys to come up with a dumb question this week. Remember, dumb questions are there to remind us that there's no such thing as a dumb question, and by calling it a dumb question, you're off the hook. No one can say, hey man, that's a dumb question. You can say, look, of course it's a dumb question. That's all good. We have a play-along song this week that I'm excited about, and that's going to tie in with, oh my gosh, it's going to tie in with a looper. You guys, I got a new looper, and I can't wait to show you the new looper. before I forget, I'm going to put a link in the chat in case you can't stand it. You want to know, wait, what's this looper he's talking about? I have an old looper. It works great. I did not need a new looper. So why did I get one? Stay tuned. Okay, there's the link in the chat. That'll send you to Sweetwater, where I got the looper from. So I want to share that with you. I'm on TikTok, and I've been cranking out some TikTok videos. So I want to let you know about that. Yeah, so I think that's basically my agenda so far. So does that work for you guys? Stick around. We are, oh my gosh, how could I forget? Why am I drinking such a big iced coffee here? Because I thought I'd have a special beverage. Today is our 1-year anniversary. Happy birthday. Some of you have been here since last May, I bet, right? And some of you who maybe have not been here since last May, maybe some of you have reviewed these live streams. You've gone back. Remember, there's a playlist of all these YouTube live streams. Maybe you've seen all of them. Today is number 47. So here's to you. Here's to what we do here. Our 1-year anniversary of live streams. So it's number 47. So clearly we missed a few here and there. That's okay, because that'll give us a chance to celebrate like a number 50 live stream. That'd be fun. And so this iced coffee is for you. Little something special to hydrate during the show. Okay, so oh, and before I forget, at some point I'll play you a little chord melody. You guys might have heard me doing that a minute ago as the show opened. I'm going to play you a little chord melody to whet your appetite for the chord melody book that I'm in the process of creating and hope to have out by the end of the month. That I plan to have out by the end of the month. Okay, so Stephen says, congratulations on 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate that, Stephen. I'm going to say a few hellos. Thunder Ace, hello. Stephen, Jeff, Scott, Christian, hello. Chris Crates, hello. Let's hear it for our moderator, Beginner Guitar Lessons. Hello. Thanks for being here, Beginner Guitar Lessons. Chris Lloyd, Randy, Pooba John, Live to Fly. I got you all so far? Yeah, just about. Thank you for being here, everybody. Okay, I see a question. Okay, Jeff, thank you for your question. Yeah, Jeff says, I have a weak sounding first string on my electric guitar. I've adjusted the pickup closer to the string. Yeah, it had no effect. The string has output considerably weaker than the other 5 strings. Ideas. Well, number one, yeah, that must make you crazy, right? Because that's not how it should be, right? It's not how it should be. My guess is that it is electronics related, and that is not my specialty. But it must be a pickup issue, and it's probably not a big deal, but that's my guess. Do you have only one pickup on your guitar? And if you have more than one pickup, is it the same effect with each pickup? I wonder about that. But you're right, that's not how it should be, and it's definitely addressable. I'm guessing it's got to be a pickup related thing. Pickups are interchangeable and they're fixable. You guys know that I'm a big fan of a live stream / podcast called Know Your Gear, where Phil McKnight talks about knowing your gear, being familiar with your gear. And Jeff says it's the same on both pickups. Okay, yeah, interesting. So my opinion is it's unlikely that both pickups are compromised in some way. So it's probably not the pickups. So what does that leave? It leaves the other guts of the electric guitar, the pots, right? The control, the volume and the control, tone control. So I haven't had experience with that problem, but that's my guess. That it's unlikely that it's each pickup, and it's got to be the remaining controls. For kicks, you could swap out the cable. I'm just shooting in the dark here. I can't imagine why the cable would make a difference, but your connecting cable, right? Like that one right there. If you have an extra cable, swap it out just in case. Cables they don't last forever. Yeah, that's my guess. So you want to bring it to a guitar tech that that is comfortable with electronic stuff. Now, you'd assume everyone is, every guitar tech is, and they probably are, but it'd be nice to know that it's someone who has tweaked electronics before, as opposed to someone who works purely on acoustic guitars and doesn't really have an understanding of electric stuff. But yeah, frustrating issue. Yeah, Poopa John is suggesting new strings. It never hurts to put on new strings. So, you know, it's sometimes new strings solve certain issues for sure. One thing that I heard Phil McKnight say that I took to heart was, you know, pickups have, you know, tons and tons of windings of very thin wire around them, right? And in theory, that wire can break somewhere in the middle, and that would compromise the pickup, right? And he said one time that it was incredibly rare that he had seen that be the problem. So hey, for what it's worth, it's probably not something like internal to the pickup, but I'm going to plead a little bit of ignorance and wish you luck. But yeah, call around and pretty quickly, just speaking to any tech on the phone, you get a sense for if they're comfortable working on pickup kind of issues. I bet it's no big deal. I really do. Good luck with that. Hey, Rudolph. Rudolph says, thank you for the live streams and the video lessons. Rudolph, you're very welcome. Debbie. Oh yeah, Debbie, you got the books. Okay, excellent. Debbie ordered a bunch of books from my website, I'll put that in the chat, song-bike.com. Debbie, I appreciate your purchase. You guys, I have a website, and the website is where you can buy stuff. And what's the website called? Check it out, yo. It has arrived. The first, there we go. The first SongBike merch has arrived. See that t-shirt right there? They call this color antique sapphire. And I wanted to get a t-shirt that would kind of pop on this live, you know, black background. It pops, right? So I'm in the process of setting up merch so that you guys can get some. And this is going to whet your appetite a little bit. I found a company I think we're going to get along just fine. And probably what I'll do at first is finally finish setting up my Patreon account. And maybe the first way to get some merch is to become a Patreon member and support what we're doing here that way. And then the merch will be part of your Patreon membership. And then maybe at some point I'll make stuff available for everyone to just buy yourself a SongBike t-shirt. But my family, we got ourselves some shirts and some baseball hats with a SongBike logo, and I'm pretty happy with the quality. So all this stuff will be available for you guys ASAP. Okay. Scott, thanks for being here. Scott says, I might have to leave early tonight. Scott, I understand. All this stuff is being recorded. Okay, Stephen Smith says, I'm working on fingerstyle guitar, but my fingernails are thin and they wear down. Have I ever tried glued on nails? I never have. I haven't taken that step, but I know that people who do that, you know, who you know, fake nails, and they swear by it. I've heard people going as far as buying ping pong balls and slicing them up and using the ping pong ball material as fake nails. That's pretty intense. Don't forget, those of you who do fingerstyle guitar or want to do fingerstyle guitar, you can always put a little clear nail polish on your nails and see if that strengthens them just enough to get that nice sound. You don't need fingernails necessarily to play fingerstyle guitar. You don't, you know, you can use your flesh. I have to admit though, that a slightly longer fingernail, you know, and you know, combined with a little bit of your skin, the combination, it gets a really nice tone. I mean, it really is. In general, my fingernails break too fast, so I just use my bare fingers. So yeah, try it all. Why not? Try it all. You know, another option is a plastic thumb pick and metal finger picks, which, you know, all this stuff takes getting used to, but once you get used to it, there's so much clarity to using a thumb pick and finger picks that you just might get you might love that sound so much. So yeah, try it all with the understanding that nothing is as intimate as your skin on the fingers, on the strings. So as soon as you put on anything, such as like a thumb pick and finger picks, you're going to feel distant. You're going to feel separated from the instrument, and it's going to feel weird for a while. The sound is pretty cool. It has this crispness, you know, that you just cannot get from your skin. But then you've just solved your problem, though, right? Whether it's broken fingernails or just some sort of callus or something happening on your fingers. In theory, you can go faster with finger picks and a thumb pick because there's no friction, right? You use your bare skin, it's squishy, and there's that little bit of friction, and you know, you potentially you can go faster with the very smooth plastic and metal picks. Then again, you know, you guys know I'm a big fan of watching and being inspired by classical guitar players, and they don't use any artificial picks. I mean, they don't use a thumb pick or plastic finger picks, and they sure play fast. So, you know, you take it with a grain of salt. One of the drawbacks to getting accustomed to using finger picks and using them all the time, you have to keep track of them. You have to know where they are at all times. You want to get extras. You want to, you know, all of a sudden it becomes a thing, right? That you have to be aware of. You know, that's not everybody wants to have to keep track of something like that. I'll say this. I worked in a music shop for a lot of years, and I became aware of some quirks in the industry, so to speak. And here's one of them. In general, plastic thumb picks stick out, they extend farther than you really need them or want them to extend. And it's extremely common to somehow file or shape or, you know, shorten the end of the plastic thumb pick. Okay, that's pretty much understood that a lot of people are going to want to do that. So if you invest in some plastic thumb picks, don't be surprised if they really keep your thumb, you know, at first, if your thumb feels really distant from the strings, just whether it's a file or I don't know how else you do it without a file, you know, but however you choose to shape and shorten the tip of that thumb pick, just understand that the industry expects you to do that, and that's why they make it kind of long. Yeah. Fingerstyle guitar is a beautiful thing. And if you watch enough YouTube videos and live performers, you'll see some people have bare fingers, some people use picks, finger picks. And I'm sure there's plenty of information out there on, you know, people's stories and advice about how to make your fingernails stronger or stick on, you know, a variety of, you know, fake nails and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. How are we doing with our poll question here? So far, the question was, do you want to make your own original music? 47% says, yeah, definitely. 40% maybe, we'll see. 13%, nah. All right, love it. We got 30 votes. We got 33 viewers and 30 votes. Nice. Love to see stuff like that. So my friends, Blair, hello. Blair's bringing up an interesting point. Blair says, sometimes stores don't have enough choice of thumb picks. Yeah, it can be tricky. That's true of a lot of things. How about slides? Right, you might go into a store to buy a slide, and in best case scenario, they have a few. I mean, worst case scenario, they only have a few. But slides, picks, I mean, all that stuff. There's so many options out there. I know not every store can have every option. Having said that, though, it can be frustrating if, you know, the size alone, right? What I found was what the industry calls a large is definitely too small for my finger. I had to shop around for extra large picks. I forget where I finally got them from. And my hands aren't that crazy big, you know. Hey, you know, in general, the world we live in, where so much is purchased online, in general, it's pretty easy to return stuff, right? So, you know, whether it's thumb picks or slides or any of this stuff, you can buy 4 different types and send 3 of them back, and I somehow the industry will survive, but yeah, Blair, I know that feeling. You walk into a store and like they just have a few choices, not enough. Liftify says, I can't adapt to a thumb pick no matter how I try. Yeah, that's okay, but then don't do it. That's good for you. I mean, again, all those amazing classical guitar players out there, they don't use thumb picks, Okay. Yeah, now Chris Lloyd is talking about steel guitar, and steel guitar is, right where the guitar, is let's call that horizontal, right? And someone's sitting behind the steel guitar, whether it's lap steel or pedal steel, and very, very, very few lap steel or pedal steel guitar players don't use a pick. In fact, Freddie Roulette, how could you forget that name, right? Freddie Roulette. I have a very cool book about the lap steel guitar. Lap steel, 6 strings, typically, no levers, pedals, not like it's like you take a guitar, you put it like this, right? Lap steel guitar. And Freddie Roulette is the only one interviewed in that book. And they interview, I forget the name of the book. I think it might just be called Lap Steel Guitar. He didn't use any picks on his fingers, just bare skin. Everybody else used metal finger picks and thumb pick. And that helps get that very classic trebly steel guitar kind of sound, whether it's lap steel or pedal steel. So yeah, Chris, you're right. They all use finger picks except Freddie Roulette. How could I remember that name? You'd be surprised at the things I don't remember. But okay. I see your question, Dandy611. I see your question. Hi, Jonathan. Can you recommend any alternative warm-up techniques? I'm bored of the spider exercises. Definitely. Scales and arpeggios. Those are 2 of your best friends, scales and arpeggios. And let's and you can buy books that are literally called, scales and arpeggios for guitar. But let's throw one your way. And speaking of best friends, I got my Sharpies, or technically this one is not officially the Sharpie brand. Okay, let's do an arpeggio. Let's do a major arpeggio. And am I the only one who uses their guitar as a table? I've never not used my guitar as a table. And yes, the permanent marker bleeds through and shows up on the back of my guitar. What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? Major arpeggio. The reason I am encouraging you, all of you, to practice arpeggios, typically they involve all 4 fingers of your fretting hand. You can't, get by with only 3 of the fingers. I got to use your ring and pinky. Arpeggios just sound good. They don't sound random. They don't sound major arpeggio. They sound like you're making a musical statement, And I'm going to write this down 2 ways. I'm going to write it down with tab and with a diagram. There we go. So how about okay. We're gonna crank it up way up to the 12th fret. Why not? But if playing up at the 12th fret is awkward for any of you, because maybe you're playing acoustic guitar, believe me, I get that. But all the more reason to memorize the pattern and move the whole pattern down the neck. Okay, the tab is done. Stand by. Stand by for the diagram. 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. 2, 9, 10, 10. That's 9, that's 10. Okay. All right, my friend, there you go. Let's get it in the shot. There we go. A major arpeggio. Okay. You see that okay? Pinky, A string, 12. not a shock that we're beginning an A major arpeggio on the note A, right? Okay, so you guys, for months now, I've been saying that I'm just addicted to arpeggios. I love them. Okay, 12 on the A string with the pinky, 11 on the D string. Now here's where it gets fun. 9, 10, 9 on the third, second, and first strings. We'll talk about that more in a second. Finally, 12 on the first string. Put it all together. And of course, you want to go in both directions, right? Ascending and descending. So, number one, see how I'm using all 4 fingers? Down, up, picking with your picking hand. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. I want to point out, see that 9, 10, 9 in the chord diagram? Doesn't that look like a D chord? Yeah, 9, 10, 9. It's a D formation, just instead of down here where the D chord goes, you're way up 9, 10, 9. But it's an A chord. So it has to be an A chord, right? It must be, because guess what? An arpeggio is just a chord with the notes played one at a time, right? That's a definition of a major arpeggio. In terms of music theory, an arpeggio is a chord with the tones played one at a time. And for the record, every note we're all playing here is one of these 3 sounds or pitches. A, C sharp, and E. Those are the 3 notes of an A major arpeggio. A, C sharp, and E. It happens that, not coincidentally, we're doing them in order. 12 on the A string, that's note A. That 11 is a C sharp. 9 is an E. 10 on the second string, that's back to A again. 9 on the first string is a C sharp, and 12 on the first string is an E. So we just did A, C sharp, E, A, C sharp, E, right? So not a total shock that if you grabbed several of those at once, you'd end up with an A chord, and there it is at 9, 10, 9. Right there. How's the volume of that, the electric guitar? It's not, sounds a little bit loud in here, right? Back it off just a little bit. Okay, so getting back to your very good question, I think arpeggios are a great warm-up. But see, the thing is, they're not just a warm-up exercise, because you can use arpeggios for lots of things. Oh, speaking of an A major arpeggio at 9, 10, 9, name this tune. Okay, what is that? You guys know that tune. I love that. Yes, beginning guitar lessons, you know that, right? Beginning guitar lessons pointed out that is indeed Jessica, right? The late Dickie Betts. There you go. So here's Dickie Betts. First 3 notes of Jessica, literally it's that chord. It's 9 on the third string, 10 on the second string, 9 on the first. In fact, by playing all 3, I should say by fretting all 3 at the same time, and then playing them right in a row, obviously you get that nice harmony, right? It sounds so pretty to have all 3 notes ringing right from the start. And then I'm assuming Dickie Betts and me and the rest of us, all of us, you have to then let go of that chord so you can go on to the next part of the song, you know. But yeah, okay, so final challenge. As you get better and better at this, you're doing down up picking with your picking hand, right, alternating back and forth. Your left hand is using all 4 fingers, right? Just to be clear, this would be called playing in 9th position, meaning your index is going to play all the 9 notes. There's 2 of them, 2 notes at the 9th fret. Your middle is going to play that 10 on the second string. Ring is going to play the 11 on the 4th string, and pinky is going to play the 2 12s there. Okay, 9th position. The final challenge is moving it around the neck of the guitar. And that's what I meant earlier when I said, if some of you feel kind of awkward about cranking way up high at the 12th fret. Maybe your guitar just doesn't make that comfortable. Good, good. You guys are the most motivated to memorize this pattern and move it lower down the neck, more to your comfort zone, right? Okay, last thing I want to say about this is for sure, you do not have to keep one finger down when you go on to the next note, right? You definitely let go of a note when you go on to the next note. I guess one exception would be when you play that 9 on the first string and you're going on to that 12, but you intend to come back to that 9 on the first string right after, yeah, then you would keep that 9 down. But my point is, do not worry about keeping fingers down, because remember, this is not a chord. In fact, this is, you could say this is the opposite of a chord. And here's what I mean by that. Us guitar players, we think of chords in such a physical sense. You know, someone says this is an A chord, this is a G chord, and that's how we learn chords, most of us, right? As a grip that we do. If you were playing a saxophone, you wouldn't think of chords that way. You'd think of chords in a more musical sense. You think of chords as, oh, a chord is these 3 notes that, and you can do whatever you want with those 3 notes, but that's the definition of a chord. Whereas a lot of us think, oh, an A chord, that's when your 3 fingers squeeze in like that. But that's a guitar player thing, you know. So what this arpeggio exercise is doing, it's getting our brain away from that way of looking at a chord. And we're thinking of it more as in a pure musical sense. A chord is 3 notes. It could be a 4-note chord. It could be a 5-note chord, 6-note chord. Anything is possible. And you find those chord notes on your instrument. And this is how we find those notes, you know, on the guitar. At least it's one way I find those notes. Okay, so hold on. I see lots of questions coming next. So Dandy611, I hope that answered your question. And you're making actually your second part of your question is as significant as the first part. You said you're bored of the spider exercises. Yeah, when you're bored of something, you got to move on. You've got to move on, right? No matter how beneficial it is, put it aside, refresh, reset, you know, find some new things to practice. And you can always come back to those when the time is right. You know, as soon as I hear someone saying they're bored, it's my personal duty to at least suggest some other options, because, you know, music is not boring. And so playing your instrument should not be boring. And as soon as that word comes up, we got to address it, because it's understandable, right? Especially if you're paying your dues and you're playing on a regular basis and you're working hard. Yeah. Brian says, what's the best way to change chords when learning finger picking? Excellent question. The best way to change chords when you're learning finger picking is to be very clear. I'm going to take away this page now. By the way, you guys, this major arpeggio thing, I'll put this in the description of the video when I timestamp it. Okay. The best way to change chords when you're finger picking is to identify which finger absolutely has to be the first finger down on the next chord. And this is so super important, but also not hard exactly. If I'm, say I'm doing a finger picking song where I'm going from C to G. I'm on my C chord, I got my C chord, and life is good. Okay, and I'm finger picking. Next chord is G. And I'm going to take a, there we go. In this scenario, I'm doing some pattern picking. Here's my right hand. You don't need to see my left hand for a second. Doing some nice pattern picking. The next chord is G, right? In this pattern that I'm doing, and in tons of stuff that we all do with finger picking, the thumb stroke on one of the bass strings is going to be the very first thing you do as soon as you change chords, right? It's extremely common. So, okay, here's the answer to your question. You prioritize the finger that's touching the string that you need first, you know? So changing from C to G, I'm going to get my ring finger, which is on the 5th string, 3rd fret at the moment for the C chord. I'm going to bang, get it over there on the 6th string, 3rd fret immediately. And then I can finish off the rest of the G chord, you know, momentarily. But you got to prioritize whatever the very first finger is that you need. But what if I was going C to A minor? Well, that's a beautiful thing, because as you guys know, C to A minor is it's a very forgiving chord change, right? C to A minor, there's my C chord. My ring finger is going to abandon that 5th string. It's open A string now, right? It's going to tuck in. You guys know there's a tuck in 3rd string, 2nd fret for the A minor, right? Essentially, it's a 1-finger chord change, right? Okay, so in this case, I have no excuse. Assuming that the first thing my picking hand is going to do is the open A on the 5th string, well, then I have no excuse for slowing down my picking for that chord change, because, you know, it's the open string. So my point is, if the finger picking that you're doing, if the very first thing on the new chord is an open string, then train yourself to get that open string right away, even while your fretting hand is, you know, in motion, you know, backfield in motion, like in football. This is multitasking. This is like literally one of the best examples of multitasking I can think of. Your left hand has to get to the next chord, but your right hand cannot stop playing, assuming you're doing some sort of finger picking pattern. Or even if it's not just a pure routine pattern, realistically, you know, you're doing some sort of finger picking, it's extremely likely that your thumb is hitting a bass note first, right? Yeah, so that's my answer. Make sure you know which is the most important note to prioritize. And if it's open string, great. But it's really likely that it's going to be something that you're going to have to grab quickly, and just grab that first. Now, it's going to take a certain amount of faith that I'm going to go back to this C to G sonata here. It takes a certain amount of faith to say, okay, I'm on C. Here comes a G chord. My ring finger is going to hop over there nice and fast. You got to have faith that your other fingers are going to come down where they need to come down in the nick of time. So this is one of those times where practicing something painfully slowly is super helpful. And I always say, practicing slowly, that is the shortcut. That's the fast way to get good at something, is to practice it slowly. Let your brain process all these little details. Remember our quote from last live stream, give your muscle memory a chance, right? Don't judge yourself while your muscle memory is still in process, you know? So I hope that helps, Brad. Scott Rhodes says he's had a drum / looper pedal for a while. Haven't figured it out yet. Oh, well, today is the day. We will get to that looper shortly. Chris Creates asked, do you have an opinion about the premium picks like Blue Chip? One pick, $35. Oh, man, I can't. No, I can't wrap my head around that. I can't. No, I would. I don't. I've never tried those picks. So let's be clear. I've never tried those picks. But no, I can't imagine spending that much money. I mean, that's pizza money. $35. That's some pretty good pizza. So no, I can't say I would advise anybody to try that. Now, having said that, the little picks that I like are these little Dunlop stubby, cute little red stubby 1 millimeter picks. They're small. Some people call the size jazz picks or mandolin picks, made by Dunlop stubby 1 millimeter. I love these picks passionately. I buy bags of them at a time. I have, so I definitely get that you find a pick and you like, and like, picks are important. They're super important. Mine are not $35, and I don't want to try a $35 pick, because what if I like it? Ouch. Now, I don't want to discourage anybody. You got to try stuff out, but that's not in my budget. Sorry, not in my budget. Yeah. And I like investing in my musical self. Believe me, I like that. That's where I tend to put my money, in my musical necessities more than other necessities, So Mm. Liftify says that Liftify tried some thumb picks from Sweetwater, the Herco flat thumb picks, medium gauge. Okay, the players pack filed them, but they still felt weird. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Hopefully they weren't $35. Hey, share them with a friend. If you're truly not going to use them, yeah, giving them some kid. I don't know. You might start something. Who knows? Who knows? Joseph, thanks for joining us. Rock Lobster wants to know, how do you get one of these fine SongBike T-shirts? We're getting there. We're getting there. Hang in there. I'll get it. I'll get it set up. Oh, a beginner guitar lessons is mentioning that the arpeggio thing that we just did. You could do that as a sweeping exercise. Yeah. Now I'm not a master of sweep picking, but I'm going to be, especially if I say it to 48 people. I'm going to get there. You just got to put your mind to it. But yes, you could use that arpeggio as a sweep picking exercise. Sweep picking is when you move across the strings deliberately enough that you can hear each note, but not so fast that it becomes a strum. Right? You want to hear the individual notes. It's a combination of having just the right touch with your picking hand, but also making sure your fretting hand lets go or sort of relaxes their touch, so that none of the notes blur into other notes. There's a trick to it, and someday I'm going to get awesome at it, and then here's a funny thing. It occurred to me the other day that some skills I want to get good at just so I can teach it. That's my motivation. Okay. Pat says Pat likes jazz picks as well. Yeah, like Pat uses the Dava brand, DAVA, holes in a rubber grip. Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, try out all that stuff, whatever's in your budget. I believe the Fender, tortoiseshell medium pick it's certainly the most common pick. I don't know if I'm qualified to say it's the best selling pick of all time, but your basic Fender medium pick, if you find that works just fine for you, great. Just save yourself a lot of hunting around. And Willie Snetter says, hey Jonathan, I have you to blame for some of my sweet original music. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, why not? Hey, look, why not invent a pick? Why can't you be the person, promoting, hold on here, promoting a $35 pick that you invented? Go for it, man. Go for it. Do it. Everyone else seems to be inventing picks and stuff. All right. Let's get to some of our fun stuff. We got some time. Let's talk about exploding a chord. You ready to explode a chord? Okay, here's what I'm talking about. Instead of thinking of a chord as something that you grab and then you strum it, or you pick the individual notes, I want you to think of it as a starting point, a headquarters, and that whatever chord we're talking about, and we're going to talk about the one finger major chord, there are all these notes around that chord that are available to you. Whether you're thinking in terms of a rhythm guitar player, strumming a chord, but you want to put in little extra notes, that's little embellishments to the chord, great. Or you're thinking like a lead guitar player, and you're not strumming the chord, but it's there, and that by visualizing it, you can not only play the notes that you're touching, but you can play the notes that I call them satellite notes that are around the chord. So what we're about to do would apply to those of you who are looking to improve your lead guitar skills as well. Okay, exploding a chord. Look at that. Is that high tech or what? In fact, we're going to go one better. And now we're really high tech, baby. Look at that. My snack clip. You guys have snack clips from potato chip, clips? I should do a SongBike clip like that, man. That's what I should do. because you got to have them, right? For a variety of reasons. Maybe you have a book that won't stay open, or you might have a breeze. Maybe you're practicing outside. You got a breeze going on. Yeah, you got to have a clip. In fact, I've used clips, without a doubt. I've used clips far more often for this purpose than I've ever used them for snacks. Who has man, if you can't finish a bag of chips, you're not trying, you know? Okay, so what do we have here? A one-finger major chord. For our purposes, we can take this at face value. See how that's the second fret? Literally, it's an A major chord. Although, as soon as possible, I want you guys to think of this as a portable thing that can go up and down the neck, and not just as a major chord. So, okay, if you're a rhythm guitar player, for the moment, if mentally you're thinking of yourself as a rhythm guitar player, and it's time for you to strum an A chord, well, there you go, your one finger A chord. Now, I know we could do it with 3 fingers. Why am I doing it with 1 finger? Partly because it says to, right? That little cute little rainbow thing. That's how you know you're supposed to be doing it with 1 finger. Also because my other 3 fingers are available to put in all this other stuff, right? Whether you put it in temporarily, or it actually becomes part of the riff or the song. These are all notes that are available to you. And depending on the context, you might love the effect that adding one of these notes gives you, or you might not. It's all right. It's all good, you know. For those of you who are writing your own songs, this is how you have fun with a good old boring A major chord, right? Nothing against A major chords, but it's nice to know how you can dress it up, right? How you can embellish on an A major chord, whether it's a temporary thing or if that actually becomes the riff of the song, you know. It's nice to know what your options are. Okay, so these are all notes that I think of as like satellites, right? They're floating there around that chord. By the way, I didn't put any notes behind the chord. Doesn't mean they're not there. I just figured, look, you got to stop somewhere. I'm going to add one. I'm going to put a number 2 right there. Okay, so I bet some of you have already guessed what all those numbers represent. 2, flat 3, 3, 6, 4, 2, hike. How about 8? See that 8 with a star next to it? Okay, those are the scale degrees. And if I just lost a couple of you, like, well, what's, I don't know, that's okay. That's okay. The main thing is visually, you know, oh, I can, when I'm doing a 1 finger A chord, I can put a finger down right there. I can put a finger down right there and dress up the chord, embellish the chord a little bit. That's the number 1 takeaway. Okay, all of those notes are fair game, just a matter of your taste. But I figured instead of just putting like a little X, you know, I thought I'd show you like the degree of this scale that each one of those notes represents. So just then I added on that 4 right there. Here's my 1 finger A. And I put my middle finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Okay. Now, whatever you want to, however that sounds to your ear, that's the sound you get when you add the 4th note to the chord. And by the way, some of you might say, well, what about that 4? Yeah, 1 octave lower. That's also the 4th note of an A major scale. It happens to be the note D. D is in delta, you know. A little bit harder to get that 4. My pinky is cranked up. You know, for the record, I'm doing a 1 finger A chord, and my pinky is on the 5th fret of the 5th string. A little bit harder. Anyways, okay, get the idea? So we're exploding the chord. That's, I don't know, that's my image. Like all of a sudden, it's not just an A chord. You got all this other stuff. It just exploded, you know? Okay. Someone tell me, why did I put a star next to that 8 right there? I mean, I didn't put a star anywhere else. Why did I put a star next to that 8? There must be some reason. There must be some reason why I put a star next to that 8. Someone out there. Pat says it's the root note. You got it. And it's called 8 because it's the 8th note of the scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Notice I start on do and I ended on do. Yeah, you're back where you started. So that's the note A right there. Hey, for what it's worth, don't go anywhere. I'm going to put a circle right there. That's the root note. And then that's the root note, 1 octave higher. Hey, not a coincidence that the word octave is being used. Oct means 8, right? There you go, in case you never saw that connection before. In this case, that's the note A, 3rd string, 2nd fret, and then 1 octave higher, 1st skinny E string, 5th fret. Okay, so as a songwriter, these are all waiting there for you. Or what if your buddy wrote the song and they're hoping that you can do that you can put in cool stuff, you know? There's a whole bunch of options for you, you know? How about, well, check it out, that 2 right there. It's the 2nd degree of an A major scale, happens to be the 4th fret on the 3rd string. Ring any bells? It's kind of a Keith Richards kind of move there to include that note during the major chord. What if we I used the 2 and then I went up to the flatted 3rd, a little bit of a bluesy sound, and then back to the 2. Right, all of a sudden we have this riff. What used to be just an A chord, all of a sudden it's an A chord with some action, right? There's some stuff going on, you know? Okay, so there you go. What I would encourage you to do is, it's going to sound funny, just mess around with it. Just mess around. But every time you add one of those satellite notes, listen closely, right? And say, okay, what effect am I getting? Does it sound familiar? Have I heard someone do that before? Does it ring a bell? All you adults out there, and I know many of you are adults, you've heard a lifetime of music. So when someone does a little riff, chances are these bells start going off in your head, like, wait, I've heard that. That sounds like whatever. And that's a huge advantage because all of a sudden the sound has value, right? It has value, it has meaning, it's something. And if your memory is halfway decent, you sooner or later recognize, oh yeah, wait, that's Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones, or that's whatever. So that's a huge advantage all y'all adults have, that no one would expect a young kid to have, because they just haven't heard that music and they haven't been listening that critically, you know, because they're 11, you know, that's fine. They have other advantages to being 11. So mess around with this stuff. Some things on the guitar are meant for you to explore. There's plenty of things that are, you know, this is how you do it, and you do it 20 times a day, and that's cool. There are other things that are concepts that you have fun with and you mess around with. I would encourage you to write your own riffs with this, right? That's how you really digest something, internalize it, by making up a song that uses this kind of thing. Okay, check out this. And this, you've heard this before for sure. There's my 1 finger A. My pinky is stretching up to the high A on the 5th fret. It's okay if this is too big a stretch for some of you. I get that, don't worry. By the way, if there's any trick to this other than practice, it's where my thumb is. My thumb is pointing straight up towards the ceiling. I would say my thumb is pretty close to the 3rd fret. Okay, but here's my point. I'm going to strum my A chord, my pinky on the high A. There it is, right? Now my ring finger is going to play the skinny string 4th fret. Hear that little change? I was on the 5th fret with my pinky, and then the 4th fret with my ring, and then the 3rd fret with my middle finger. I'm down to the flatted 7. Hear that? You've heard that kind of melodic thing. We're still in the world of rhythm guitar here, right? Rhythm guitar, not only does rhythm guitar not have to be boring, rhythm guitar is never boring, you know? I just went down to that 6. You know how I'm getting that 6? I'm just making sure I have enough pressure with my bar to put pressure on the skinny first E string as well. Okay, so you get the idea, right? Have fun with this stuff. I guarantee you, the more familiar you are with this, the sooner you start seeing this in guitar riffs. You say, wait a minute, that person is doing that thing. They're adding some satellite notes. And as always, as you explore this, whatever you do, as soon as possible, move up the neck, get away from that one finger A chord, go up 2 frets, and I've got a 1 finger B chord, right? And do it all that way. Here's an incentive to move up the neck and do it higher and higher up the neck. The fret spacing is closer, right? So it's a lot easier to reach up to some of the higher notes because physics, right? So yeah, whatever you do, move it around the neck. You guys know, in general, I'm a big fan of the 1 finger A chord. Such a punchy, great sound, and moves up the neck very conveniently. And so here's yet another plus as to getting another reason to get totally comfortable playing that 1 finger A major chord. Last thing I'm going to say, for the record, of course my index finger is touching the skinny string. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on the skinny string, and when I strum, I'm definitely not strumming that high E string. Okay, fun, right? Fun, why not? Okay. Oh yeah, Harrison's making a good point. It helps you learn the scale in the sense that you see where everything lines up. Yeah, totally. I hadn't even thought of that. It's a good point. Wherever you put this 1 finger major chord, that's always the second note of the scale. That's always the 4th note of the scale, and so on. Yeah, definitely. And even if the number stuff doesn't work for your brain, totally okay. Just know that you can learn it as a visual thing, and these notes are all right there waiting for you. You know, cool. I saw someone made a comment. Beginner guitar lesson says that I should copyright that idea. Satellite notes. Yeah, why not? Satellite notes. Yeah, Brian, getting back to that thing about changing chords. Yes, I like, speaking of terminology that is good terminology. Brian says, like when you're using a pick and you do a phantom strum when changing chords, can you do a phantom strum while finger picking? Yes. But what do you mean? I think I know what you mean. A phantom strum, do you mean like you're strumming but you're on open strings for a split second before you get to the next chord? Because if that's what you mean, then I might steal that phrase from your phantom strum. But yeah, it's so common. No matter how you're picking or strumming or however you're making the sound with your picking hand, to let pluck open strings as your fretting hand changes to the next chord or whatever. It's so common. I almost would just call that playing the guitar. You can't stop the rhythm of the tune. You got to keep going with the strumming or the picking or whatever. But you need a split second to get to the next chord. And so what are you going to do? You're going to have a few open strings, which technically might even be, quote, wrong notes, technically, potentially. But everyone does it. And especially as you get faster and faster, those open strings go by so fast, the listener doesn't have time to even process them because you're on the correct chord, the next chord, so quickly, it's lost. Sleight of hand, right? It happened too fast. Our audience, right? We're magicians, and our audience, they can't keep up with what we're doing, right? I hate to break it to you. There might not be such a thing as magic, right? It might be people doing things just really tricky, really fast, tricky things, and our eyes can't keep up with it, right? Same thing with music. In fact, as music fans, we're all music fans here, right? We've all watched a whole bunch of guitar players. Raise your hand Raise your hand if you ever watched someone play the guitar and you can't figure out what they're doing. Just anybody? That destroyed my life, right? You know what I'm talking about? It's too fast. Or even if one hand's going relatively slowly, you're looking at one hand where you miss what they're doing with the other hand, right? You can't win. So believe it or not, it's extremely likely that people have watched you and they just can't figure out what you're doing because it's all going by too fast. They don't know what to look for. They're looking at your picking hand, waiting to see what, why the sound is changing, but they don't know that it's because the chord is changing or vice versa, right? Is that interesting? That it interests me that we are all impressive to somebody. We really are. You might not believe it, but oh yeah, we're all impressive to somebody. Don't forget, most of the world wishes they could play a musical instrument at any level, right? And we're that person. Let's check in with our poll results. Do you want to make your own original music? 51% says yes, definitely. Good on you. I love that. 30% says maybe, we'll see. And 20% say nah, nope. It's all right. Respect. But I'm curious, you guys, it's very interesting to me whenever we do these poll questions. I'm glad you guys are voting. Look at that. We have 48 viewers at the moment and 47 votes. Someone's abstaining. It's all right. Even though I know a handful of you out there personally, and I feel like I know many of the rest of you, these kind of questions tell me a little bit about where you're coming from. I know it's totally anonymous poll. Hey, speaking of anonymous, I'm going to out somebody, but I won't say your name. Was someone out there, I just found out because he let me know, he is a tap dancing instructor. I won't say who you are. You're welcome to identify yourself if you're in the chat. How cool is that? A tap dancing instructor. I mean, that is like, oh man. I mean, dance is a beautiful thing, period. But a tap dancing instructor, oh man, that just sounds like an incredibly fun, interesting job, which I think that's awesome. So I respect everyone's privacy. Nothing to be shy about. I just figure it's not my place to talk about, to name names. But just so you know, I think that is such a cool. I mean, anyone with a skill, you've earned that skill. You paid your dues. You've got a skill, and then if you're also sharing that skill in any capacity, well, obviously I can relate to that, right? Like that's you're singing my song. Live to Fly. Live to Fly has made our first a super chat donation of the night. Live to Fly, thank you very much. A super chat is when you donate. You make a donation to the cause here, and I appreciate that. And you guys, anyone is welcome to do that. It's that $sign at the bottom of the chat, and I thank you in advance. Let's do the looper, and then let's do our play along song of the night because the two things are connected. Okay, so we don't need this, but we do need the white paper to stay there. Okay. Okay, the looper. So here's the deal, you guys. I'm going to did I already put this in the chat? I did. And it will be in the description of this video. I have a looper that I got, 15 years ago, maybe, and it's great. It's a Boss looper. It's 2 pedals. It's one big box with two different pedals to step on. Love it. Great. A little bit expensive. Way higher technology than I needed. I'm sure I only used 20% of what it can do. I got a second one for this live stream, for our live stream, and here's why. I wanted to have something that was not as expensive as my original one, and that was much simpler to use. So what did I get? Let me see how I can do this. I got a classic. Can you see that? Of course you can. It's a little bitty looper called a Ditto. This is made by TC Electronics out of Denmark. The Ditto. Typically they're around $100. Sweetwater had a demo quote for about $80. with warranty and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, oh, well, I'll save 20 bucks. I'll get a used one, totally fine, and it works great. So that's what we're going to be using, and I've used it a little bit. I like it, and I'm going to recommend it to you guys. And you can use that Sweetwater link that I put in the top of the live stream, and I'll put it in the description. I'll tell you what is bugging me about it, and it's going to bug me until I can find the solution, because there's got to be a solution to this thing that's bugging me about it. Okay, I just put the link in the chat again. You know what I do like about it for sure? One button. Oh, one button, and then one knob to control the ultimate volume of what you create. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this first. Hey, Randy, thank you for your super chat, and Stephen Rock Lobster, thank you for your super chat. I'm throwing you guys some hearts. I appreciate that. Okay, so because this song we're going to do tonight, our play along song we're going to do momentarily, is so repetitive, like many of our play along songs are. I thought, hey, great, I'll get the looper to do it for me. And then I can do stuff on top of that. Okay, so another thing that's kind of adorable is there's the instructions. One piece of paper. There's the picture on one side with the names of stuff, and there's the instructions. At their website, there's a what they call a full manual, and I will check that out because of the thing that's bugging me. I want to see if there's a solution to that, but I haven't done that yet. But anyways, that's that's my kind of instructions, man, right there. Okay. All right. So let's get right down to using it. Okay, so what we have going on here is a 3-chord chord progression, this is going to be our play along song in a minute. What I'm going to do is, in real time, I'm going to step on the looping pedal button at the moment of my choosing. I'll explain in a moment. And then I'm going to play through the chord progression. I'm going to step on it again at the exact same time in the chord progression that I stepped on it in the first place. And that creates the loop. That's it. That's it. Now there's more you can do, but that's what I'm going to do right now, So the chord progression is, just so you know, G, A minor, C twice. Okay, so you're going to hear me go like this. Oh, I lied. G, A minor, C, back to G again. Okay, so the G's act as bookends, meaning when you're doing that final G, it leads back to the first G. G, A minor, C, back to G, and then it starts again. So the G ends up being twice as long, right? Bookends, you get the idea of bookends. Okay, so one thing I learned, you learn a lot from working with a looper. I'm going to be talking about this a lot, I can tell already, because I'm going to be incorporating these live streams. It's like having a friend here who can keep doing something while I illustrate something to you guys. It's a beautiful thing. A to Z me is taking a very educated guess. Some of you already know what song we're going to do today. Excellent. Okay, so, oops, sorry, I booted the mic there. Okay, I got a mic on the amp, and that's down at my feet. And I just booted it. Okay, so one thing I've learned about myself as a rhythm guitar player from working with a looper is I speed up. And you can't do that because I'm creating a loop that by definition is going to repeat whatever I do. Well, I can't go slow, medium, fast, slow, medium, fast. Nobody wants to hear that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little groove going. By the way, I am going to show you this strum pattern in a bit. Don't worry about that. I'm going to get that strum pattern going. I'm going to try to lock in and not speed up. The first thing I gotta say is what I'm not digging about this looper is as soon as I turn it on, it boosts the sound. So it's gonna get a little bit louder as I do this, and I gotta figure out how to not make that happen. So as soon, you're gonna know when I step on it because it's gonna sound a little bit louder. Okay, here I go. Yeah, it was a little bit louder, right? Okay. There was good old Jonathan. Okay, so that's going to go on and on and on, right? Until I don't know, until the Earth crashes into the sun or the sun crashes into the Earth or whatever. Okay, pretty steady. I don't think I sped up. Now, the sound is now coming out of my guitar amplifier, but I can control the overall volume of that loop. Turning that louder or softer does not change how loud or soft my guitar is, my live guitar, what I'm about to do. So that means that, you know, if I'm going to play some lead guitar along with that, I want it to be a little bit louder than the backing track, right, than the loop. So, okay, so I think it's pretty clear that little lead thing I just played was definitely louder than the loop. That's great. Could I make the loop a little bit louder? Sure. But isn't it nice? It's very cool. That's what that one little volume knob does. Okay, now I'm going to press on it twice to stop it. I'm going to do 2 clicks. And this shows you how rudimentary this technology is. 2 clicks with my foot. Tap, tap. Done. Now it's still there. It's still there. I'm going to start up again in a second. Okay, so I've created a loop. Life is good. Now here's where it gets fun. I can, we're in the key of G, by the way. G, A minor, C, G. We're in the key of G. I could use this to just solo on top of it using a G major pentatonic scale, for example. Great. I could use this to practice up the neck versions of G, A minor, and C, right? In fact, I can create another loop with those. Maybe I should do that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press it one time. Yeah, I'm going to press it one time. It's going to begin going. Okay. When I feel ready, I'm going to press it a second time, and that's going to begin the overdub. When it's time to do the overdub, that's going to be me playing up the neck chords. I'm going to play G, A minor, and C up the neck. I might do G with a D formation. A minor, how about 5-5-5 for the A minor? How about C the way I would do an F chord, 8-8-9, and back to G. Now I'm not going to do all the same strumming, because I've already got that covered. So I might just do light little like 2, 3, 4. 2. You know, less is more. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so one tap, get the loop going. Got my G chord ready. Here I go. And tap it again. A little soft, right? Yeah, it's there, but it's not loud enough. If I press and hold it, it undoes what I just did. Because I'm not saturated, it's too soft, right? So I'm going to press and hold it. So in theory, that erased that kind of weak sound that I just had there. I don't know why it was so soft. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Ooh, that was loud, right? But now I'm hearing it. Okay, hold that thought. Okay, 2 taps, and it's going to pause and just wait for me. Okay, so Charlie Beagle says, what is the song? Well, check out the chat. Charlie, don't ask me, ask A to Z me. Made famous by the Byrds, but written by Bob Dylan, You Ain't Going Nowhere. Okay, so yeah, did I want it to be that loud? No, I got to figure out what's going on, right? But you can see we have layers going on. So my point was, I was using the looper to practice my up the neck chords, give my fretting hand a chance to figure out, okay, I know the song is G, A minor, and C. How can I play those chords up the neck, Now I'm going to undo that because I don't like how loud that was. I'm going to press it and hold it one time. Because basically those are your 2 options. Tapping it quickly, like once or twice quickly. Or holding it down hard. Okay, thank you. All right, get the idea? Looping. Now, that's the tip of the iceberg, right? There's so much you can do, Okay, so I'm going to erase what I just did. Press twice, press and hold to clear the whole loop. So I just erased it. Okay, so let's talk about what I don't love about this so far. Admittedly, all I've read about it is that little teeny piece of paper. Okay, what I don't love about it so far, you have to plug it into the wall. It's not powered by a 9-volt battery. Kind of a pain if you're going to be moving all over the place, because you got to find an outlet. You have to buy, it doesn't come with an adapter. You have to somehow scrounge up a 9-volt adapter or buy one separately. No big deal. If you have your practice space in your house, in your apartment, and you're in one place, no big deal. You have your setup, you have your looper, life is good. You plug it in, life is good. Some of the things I want to figure out are those volume things. I want to figure that out. There has to be a solution for that. When you go to clear it, you press it down and just hold it and wait for it to clear. It plays whatever you just did, it plays it for like 2 seconds before it clears it. Well, I don't want to hear that, So I wonder if there's some solution there. Okay, anyways, to be continued. But I'm going to be using it a lot during our live streams because it's a chance for me to have both parts going at the same time. All right, now I have the chart. We're going to do this in a second. And I just realized that I'm down to my last piece of white paper. Dare I use it? What if I need more paper? I dare. Okay, you, 8, going nowhere. Here's a beautiful thing. There's no F chords. You don't need a capo. There's no bridge. There's no weird part. There's no key change. You ain't going nowhere. Bob Dylan. What we're going to do is in the same key as the Byrds did it, in the key of G. Because why not? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, the overall chord progression. G to A minor to C, back to G. I'll say it one more time. That G is different than that G, right? Bookends. You do that G, you go back to the beginning G. So G happens twice as often. I know a certain percentage of you are like, oh my God, I get it. And some of you are going to mess up. You're going to play that last G, and you're going to go right to that A minor. Don't do it. Rookie mistake. Okay. Here is the strum pattern that I recommend. The boompa chicka strum. Boompa chicka. Right? Why do I call it that? Because that's what it sounds like. Okay, so here's the boompa chicka strum. I'm going to illustrate this on the G chord, but you will understand very quickly how to adapt it to the C and the A minor. Okay. If this ever gets too high tech for any of you, just let me know. Just send me a postcard. Let me know. Nothing like a white paper, piece of white paper and a Sharpie. Okay. Oompa chicka. Down on the bass note, the 6th string third. This is for a G chord, right? So 6th string 3rd fret with a downstroke. 4th string happens to be open. That's an upstroke. And then a nice little chicka on the 2 treble, on the 3 treble strings. Down up there too. I'm going to get my right hand in the shot here because you guys know my left hand is just doing a G chord. Okay, pretty good. I'm going to back off the volume a little bit. It's plenty loud enough. That's better. Deborah Cohen is a fan of I Ain't Going Nowhere. It's a great song, right? Boompa chicka, boompa chicka. Okay, now no one taught me this. I just found myself doing it. And when I say I found myself doing it, I found myself inserting that note, the second note, the pa of the boompa, you know. And then I realized that no, I had not invented that, and that's a common thing. How common is it? Well, funny you should ask. If I had to point to an example of a famous song that uses this, check it out. I would open my Strum Pattern Bible. And the reason Maggie May by Rod Stewart made it into the Strum Pattern Bible, see that? You can come back and do a screenshot of that someday. Maggie May is an example of a famous song that includes this boom pa chicka sound. Full disclosure, it's almost exactly the boom pa chicka. Boom chick, boom pa chick, boom chick, boom pa chick. Close enough. The important thing is that Maggie May has that. It has the upstroke on something other than the root note right after you do the downstroke on the root note. Okay, I'm getting really technical here. But anyways, yeah, boom pa chicka. This works great with songs that are slowish or medium. A super fast bluegrassy kind of tune, there's not time to do that. Let's say like I Walk the Line, Johnny Cash, or Folsom Prison Blues. Boom, 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 boom. There's not time and there's not a need to fill up space with that upstroke right there. But slower tunes or medium, it keeps the momentum flowing. Okay, now we're going to do our play along, sing along in really just a minute. What I want to point out is 2 quick things. See how I have this down up brush, combination on the 3 treble strings? Take it with a grain of salt. If you hit 4 strings with a downstroke, that's great. If you only hit 1 or 2 with the upstroke, great. It took me a long time as a teacher to realize that my students, especially attentive, smart students, would take whatever I wrote literally, and they would work really hard to do it, whatever the paper said, even though I was not doing that. And I realized, oh, wait a minute. You actually, to tell you the truth, it almost certainly was a student who pointed out to me, hey, when you go up, you're only hitting 1 string or 2 strings. Why did you write 3 or 4 strings or whatever the case might have been? I was like, oh, oops, good point. So the first 2 notes are kind of non-negotiable. You want to be very clear about that. 6th string, 4th string, down, up. But the brushing is more casual. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Everyone ready to rock and roll? I know you are. We're going to do this. And, one thing that's beautiful about this song is it's perfect for harmonies. So don't let me stop you. If there's some of you out there that, are ready to do some harmonies, you know what? I say go for it. Hey, pull up the lyrics. That's what I just did. Put the lyrics on your computer. Last thing I'm going to say before we start, on the A minor and the C chord, exact same strumming with one exception. For those two chords, the root note is not on the sixth string. In fact, technically, we're not supposed to play the sixth string during an A minor and a C chord. Just change the G pattern so that you hit the fifth string note first. So on the A minor, I can't see my right hand too well there. In the fifth string first. Everything else is the exact same, and same on the C. Right, that's all. Okay. You ready to rock and roll? Of course you are. I'm going to move this up. Now, I always think of one more thing. You don't have to do this strum, right? You don't have to. An alternative, especially if this is just too much at the moment. Oh yeah, just do 2 down strums on G. In fact, maybe I'll start off. I try to do this. Simple strumming. Clouds so sweet, rain won't lift. 2 strums and 2 strums, right? G twice, A minor twice, C twice, G twice. The 2 G's at the end flow right into the 2 G's at the beginning, right? Okay, let's simplify this. I'm going to bypass all this special effects stuff. Okay. Get a more pure kind of tone here. Okay, so I'm going to do those nice, simple down strums as we start off. And then I'm going to move into the whole, there we go, that's better. Then I'm going to move into the whole boom, ba-chicka, boom, ba-chicka. Okay, let's do this. How about if we go through the chord progression once or twice and then start up with the lyrics? Okay, I'll see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clouds so swift, rain won't lift, the gate won't close, and the railings froze. Get your mind off of wintertime, you ain't going nowhere. Oh, hey, ride me high, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh, are we gonna fly down in the easy chair? I don't care how many letters they send. Morning came, morning went. Pack up your money, pick up your tent. You ain't going nowhere. Oh, wait, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh, we gonna fly down in the easy chair. Buy me a flute, a gun that shoots, tailgates and substitutes. Strap yourself to a tree with roots. You ain't going nowhere. Oh, wait, fly me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh, we gonna fly down in the easy chair. Genghis Khan, he couldn't keep all his king's supply with steep. We'll climb that hill no matter how steep when we get up to it. Oh, my bride's gonna come. Oh, we're gonna fly down in the easy chair. All right. G major pentatonic scale. To answer the question that some of you are thinking, we're in the key of G major. The G major pentatonic scale is what you want to solo on. I put in a couple of interludes, right, in there. So in the hopes that some of you are already doing that, or that some of you come back to this live stream when it's over and solo on top of that. G major pentatonic scale. That's the easy one. I'll put this in the description of the video as well, but from heavy bass string to skinny string, 0 3 0 2 0 2 0 2 0 3 0 3. The G major pentatonic scale, at least the easiest way to play it. What do I mean by the easiest? Lots of open strings. We are getting some sunshine here in Connecticut, and I will drink to that. Celebrating our 1-year anniversary of these live streams. Not half bad. That Dunkin' Donuts, they're onto something. Can I tell you a story? Many years ago, my dad was an accountant for Price Waterhouse. This is a lot of years ago. Maybe I was a wee lad, and we were living in Massachusetts, and my dad, this would have been 1970s, and my dad got sent to help out a local business with their books, and it was a business with only 3 locations. I think the headquarters was Quincy, Massachusetts, and he just got sent there to help them, to audit their books and to help them out with their accounting. And the name of that business, Dunkin' Donuts, with 3 locations. That's right. You got to start somewhere, right? Yeah. Now, my dad also, I don't know if he invented this, but he would make himself iced coffee. Again, this is going back to the 70s. And he would make coffee, and you know the rest, right? You can figure it out from the name. We all know it, right? So my dad was on a business trip to Seattle, true story, and he orders an iced coffee, and they couldn't deliver. There's wherever he was, they didn't make iced coffee in Seattle at that location, whatever it was, a restaurant or whatever, in the 1970s. Oh, Dad. So I'm not saying Starbucks was invented by my dad or that iced coffee was invented by my dad, but he came home from his business trip. He goes, they've never even heard of iced coffee in Seattle. He was frustrated. There you go. Let's check in with our poll results. Do you want to make your own original music? Ooh, we're up to 53% of you. Say yes, definitely I want to make my own music. 28% say maybe. We'll see. 19% say nah. There's enough. There's enough beautiful music out there already. I'm not going to complain about getting sunshine on my face. I'm not going to, because since, as you guys know, we've been doing this for a year, and this is our second location doing the live stream. The first location had no windows. It was like the back room of my music studio, basically, the back room of my music shop. Here I am at an Elm Street location, a different location, and what can you say? We got windows, and when the sun shines, it shines. Okay, so you guys have been indulging me with the variety of things I've been throwing your way. I'm going to look at what you all have been saying, because we're on the downward slope here of tonight's live stream. It's not over. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We got plenty to talk about. But it's time for you to start paying attention here. Scott Rhodes has to go. Scott, wishing you all the best. Thanks for being here, Scott. Let me see. I'm looking for any questions that I might have missed. Blair noticed that, yes, when I played just then, and the vast majority of the time, I do my G chord with my middle ring and pinky, and my ring finger is over there on the 6th string, the fat E string. Why do I do it that way? Because someone told me to. That is actually the true story. I worked in a guitar store while I was in college, and there are a bunch of more experienced guitar players than me who were teachers there. And they saw me strumming a G chord with my index, middle, and ring, and they said, you know, you really should also learn it the other way. And I thought, I better do that. And in case any of you are wondering, you know, in case some of you need proof, like why do I have to do it that way? Why is it so important? It frees up your index finger. Why is that important? So many chords that sound good with G require your index finger to be hovering right there, right around the 1st fret. And You Ain't Going Nowhere is a great example. G and A minor, that's a common combination. G and C, G and G7, G and F, right? In fact, almost every chord that sounds good with G, you need the index finger to be, you know, right there at the 1st fret, or maybe it's a chord that precedes the G. So learn G both ways. Of course, there's the 3rd way, the 4-finger G, right? That's a good one to know for lots of reasons, including there's some songs where that's how you play it. Yesterday by Paul McCartney and the Beatles. If you want to play it and sound exactly like Paul McCartney, you got to play the 4-finger G. Okay. Joseph says, Randy Travis sings again a new AI song called Where Did That Come From? I have not heard that, but yeah, it begins AI. Very interesting. Very interesting. No, I don't know. Good time to wish all of you mothers out there happy Mother's Day. Hope you have a great day every day, but an especially great day tomorrow. Hi to my mom. Hi to my wife. And I hope you guys all have a chance to have a great day tomorrow with the mother in your life. Dandy611, thank you for your super chat. I'm throwing a heart your way. I appreciate that. £5. I appreciate that. I'm guessing that you are in the UK, and I am dying to visit. I went to England and Wales as a very young kid, and it's time for me to go again. I gotta head over there someday. Rick G is talking about his looper. He says, my looper has a drum machine. It sounds terrible with the drums. Yeah. But it sounds okay using an acoustic amp. Yeah, lots of loopers out there. Scott saying he has a looper called the Flamma FS21. So some loopers have built-in drum stuff. My first looper, the Boss that I have, called the Loop Station, from at least 10 years ago, that has a built-in drum thing. Poopa John says, can you change guitars to add to the loop? Yes, definitely. So yeah, you can just put that guitar down, plug in a different guitar, and use that guitar to add on to the loop for sure. You could even do the loop, get the loop going, create the loop, right? Then insert like a distortion pedal, say, or any kind of pedal, right before the looper. So that, say you're soloing on top of the loop, you're soloing with a whole new tone, like a distorted tone, because you don't necessarily want the rhythm guitar looped track to be distorted, not necessarily, right? Or to, bottom line is you can add effects afterwards. Blair has the Boss RC1 looper. Yeah. A to Z Me is mentioning that when Bob Dylan had the 35th year anniversary concert special thing, that there was a great version of You Ain't Going Nowhere by Roseanne Cash, Mary Chapin Carpenter, and Sean Colvin. Yeah, what a great thing. I mean, here's the thing. I was going to say, if you're a Bob Dylan fan, that big TV special from the early 90s is a great thing. But here's the thing. Even if you're not a Bob Dylan fan, because if you're not a Bob Dylan fan, you might feel the same way lots of people do. Remember, my big brother, for example, said, I'd rather hear anybody sing Bob Dylan songs than Bob Dylan. Like, they like the Bob Dylan material. They just like it better when other people sing it. I get that. So that obviously the vast majority of material that night at that concert is done by his peers and his other great musicians. Very fun. Okay, so Randy. Okay, Randy. You know, I figured it was your information. You shared it with me. I didn't want to, but Randy is our tap dancing instructor, and I, you know, respect. That's all I can say. Respect. Um, I'm as a fellow teacher, I know teaching has its ups and downs, and but what a cool thing, of all things to teach, tap dancing. What a cool thing to teach. Okay, so I'm going back to my agenda because I do have an agenda here. Let's talk about cool guitar players. I'm going to make this fast because these are people that I am learning about as well. I don't have tons of information about these people. I just know that they're super cool, and I have enjoyed hearing them and learning more about them. It's possible that I have mentioned this first guy previously. I hope I have. But whether I have or have not, you guys should join me in learning more about Fats Kaplan. Love him. Fats Kaplan. I just, in the chat, I put his name and a link to a YouTube video of Fats Kaplan. Man, what a cool guy. The particular video that I'm putting a link to for Fats Kaplan, he's a multi-instrumentalist, and he's playing an instrument from Turkey that is it's called a cumbus. At least that's the way it's spelled, Cumbus. But if you watch the video, he tells you the proper pronunciation. But it's not just the video that I want to share with you. He just seems like he's my kind of musician, and I just dig Fats Kaplan. I want to meet Fats Kaplan someday. A multi-instrumentalist who has done his homework and knows stuff, and that's what I want to be when I grow up. So definitely check out Fats Kaplan in general, and you can start at that video that I posted. Okay, who's another guitar player that we all should know more about? Oh man, this guy. I'm gonna see. Okay, I'm gonna put his name. I want to make these links as easy for you. I'll put all this stuff in the description of the video. Okay, from the Congo, and I know I'm not going to say his name correctly, but I'm going to say it with respect. And there we go. Niwel Sumbu, Niwel, Niwel, and his last name is spelled Tsumbu, and he's from the Congo. And I put a link to his, a link to his YouTube channel, and now I'm going to put another link. Man, I like watching him play. I'm going to put another link to a cool thing he does, teaching how to play like him, basically. Let me see if I can get this right. So I recommend both of these links, and again, I'll put all these links in the description of this video when I time stamp it, copy, paste. So here's another link to Niwel's artistry. Okay, one more while I have you. A very interesting band, and I also am not going to say their name correctly, but I'm going to say it with respect. Okay, and this is a link to one of their videos. Okay, the band, I'm going to pronounce Mdou Mokhtar, Mdou Mokhtar, Mdou Mokhtar. Very interesting stuff. So if you guys haven't figured it out already, I am hungry for alternative stuff. You know, I like hearing music from all over the world, and that includes guitar playing from all over the world. Like you, I've heard a lot of rock and roll. Love rock and roll. It's just that when I hear stuff that I haven't heard before, I find it very inspiring. So I want to share with you guys. The people I put in the chat just now are relatively new to me. They may not be new to you, But I hope they are new to some of you because, oh man, there's so much good music in the world. And social media and YouTube has only made it easier to find out about these folks. And oh man, love it, love it. So I hope you enjoy some of that stuff. A to Z Me says Billy Strings is the only quote new guitarist that I know, and he's not that new anymore. Yeah, but Billy Strings, not everybody knows Billy Strings. So some of you are like, who, Billy Strings? Who's Billy Strings? Yeah, check out Billy Strings, man. Hey, some people maybe aren't familiar with the good old Tommy Emmanuel. You know why that chicken crossed the road? The chicken crossed the road to get away from Tommy Emmanuel because he's everywhere. But hey, you know, I realized a long time ago that I don't know everything. So I'm no longer surprised. I try to be honest with myself. I'm no longer particularly surprised when there's a fantastic musician who might not even be a young or might not even be a newcomer. I just never heard of them before, you know. So that's just life. Randy Downing says tap dancing is fun and musicians learn it fast. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Musicians learn tap dancing fast. Excellent. That's very inspiring. Yeah, Willie Snyder is saying, I think there's a way to balance the volume between the looper and your amp. He had the same problem with a podcast and the input volume. Yeah. I mean, you're right. You're right. Because the looper only has one volume knob and one button to press. There's only so many. This particular one, it shouldn't be rocket science getting those balances. So I'll figure it out. In terms of our live stream, I could always use my fancy schmancy Boss loop station thing, and maybe I will. But I want to, you know, like I said, that's the extent of my research so far into, you know, how to use this Ditto, the Ditto looper from TC Electronic, which is very highly rated, and I've no doubt that it's going to be a useful part of my gear. And again, one reason why I went out and bought it, even though I already have the fancier one, is I wanted to demonstrate to you guys what's out there for not so much money, with not so many bells and whistles, not so many buttons, and encourage you to get any looper for yourself, because as you see me incorporate it into these live streams, you'll see how useful it can be and how it 100% makes you a better guitar player as you learn how to use it. Okay, speaking of learning how to use it, we're getting close to wrap-up time here. Hey, did anyone come up with your own dumb question? I need a dumb question of the night. I didn't have. Hey, Johnny Mobasher, I didn't have a dumb question of my own, and I was hoping that you guys could come up with a dumb question tonight. Willie Snyder asks, when you compose a song, what do you start with? A drum beat or vocals? Great question. We're all different, right? And in fact, the same person can have 10 different ways of writing a song. I like to me, a bunch of things happen at once. Like a little lyric and a little melody thing happens at the same time, and that's often a starting point for me. But there's so many ways, right? In fact, I think the more experienced a songwriter is, the more dozens of ways they have to write a song. So I definitely don't start with a drum beat, literally. But that's a great idea. Like, why not? You know, it's a great idea. You know, I mean, I'm a drummer. I call myself a recovering drummer. So I'll tell you what, if this helps anybody, because it made a big difference for me. Instead of starting with a little lyric idea and coming up with a chord melody and a melody and chord changes and all this stuff, and then going back and having to, you know, think of lyrics that are profound and beautiful and poetic and have the right rhythm and the right number of syllables, I found that exhausting. I've taken to writing lyrics, and then when I feel like I'm at a good point, right, where I've said a lot of things I want to say, then begin putting them to any sort of melody, any sort of beat. I found it's like such a relief to have a whole bunch of words that are more or less coherent, and turning that into a song rather than having a whole song and then thinking, okay, now what do I want to say? And what's a 4-syllable word or phrase that rhymes with monkey business? Like, oh my God, that's hypothetical. Please do not give me suggestions. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I found myself being painted into a corner like, oh crap, I found it difficult to be poetic when the whole structure of the song, every melodic note, all that stuff was all glued into place. And then I would have to, and it gave me a lot of admiration for old school lyricists who, be working with, a composer, and they would have to find beautiful, poetic, interesting, humorous, whatever, poignant things to say that had to fit in, like you're shoehorning in lyrics and syllables and rhymes and stuff. It gave me a lot of respect. It gives me a lot of respect for people who are doing that with little or no flexibility. At least that's what it would seem like. So if that helps anybody, it made a big difference to me to do lots of writing with words, lyrics, right? That kind of writing, and then say, okay, now what melody could work with this? And then of course you have to fudge, right? You have to fudge I imagine it's like any crafts person, any trades person, where you know what you want the final result to be, and then you gotta take a 1/4 of an inch off here, push a little harder against that, reinforce this, and yeah, good stuff. If I missed any of your questions, now is the time to re-ask your questions, because Joseph, see your question. Deborah, I see yours. Okay, Willie Snyder, I see your dumb question. Okay, it's a couple dumb questions. Okay, hold on. Okay, so let's start with Deborah says, is the looper going to replace regular recording and playing back stuff? It could. The thing about the looper is, as you notice, as you saw, it will keep repeating whatever forever until you turn it off. As opposed to recording, and I've done this too. I record myself on my phone, chord progression, I solo over it. I do it for like 60 seconds, and every 60 seconds I have to go back and do it again. So that's kind of a pain. A looper makes that easier. A looper also allows you to layer, like making a sandwich, right? The chord strumming, little bite size up the neck chords, a little riff, you can see all these things interact with each other. That's so fun. So if the alternative is just recording yourself on your phone, you can't do all that stuff on your phone. Although there's probably some sort of app out there, maybe GarageBand or something. But a looper makes it easier to layer stuff on and hear it immediately, although no matter what, I encourage all 41 of you watching right now to record yourselves as much as possible, as often as possible, especially if you're pretty sure you're not going to like how it sounds. Then definitely record yourself for 2 reasons. It makes it objectively 100% clear what doesn't sound great, and I mean this sincerely, it opens up the possibility that some of it is going to sound better than you think. That's going to happen if you record yourself often enough. Even those of you who are pessimistic, you're going to, sooner or later, you're going to have to admit that something you did on the recording does sound pretty good. It'll happen. It really will. So always record yourself as much as possible, especially if you're hesitant to. Don't be hesitant anymore. Hey, I see another super chat came in from, holy cow, came in from Zoologia. Wow, that's a big super chat. Holy cow. PLN. I'm not sure, but I'm going to read your comment. You said, discovered your channel recently as a beginner. Your videos have been amazing. Help to get started. Oh, thank you. Love the methodical approach and slow pace. Thank you so much. You're welcome. That makes my day. Awesome. Hey, if you don't mind, let us know where you are from, because I see from the currency involved that you might be from outside the US. And you guys know me. The fact that some of you, I love all of you. The fact that some of you are outside the US, it blows my mind a little bit. It shouldn't, I know, because it's the world we live in. But I reserve the right to be so happy that some of you guys are outside. For 30-something years, I basically taught in a community, right? And people who live in nearby area come and take lessons from me. It's great. And then YouTube was invented, and everything changed. But I taught I started teaching in 1992, and YouTube was just a little twinkle in our eyes, right? So the fact that I can do essentially the same thing, but have a global reach, I think I'm at just the right age where I really, really appreciate that. I don't take it for granted. I'm from Poland. From Poland, is that right? Well, thank you, all the way from Poland. Beautiful. Well, don't make this your last visit. Stick around. And quick reminder, all of these live streams have been recorded and time-stamped. This is number 47, and this will be in the description of the video, but why not? I'm going to put this in the chat right now. There we go. Come on. Copy. Here is the link, pal, to the playlist of all the previous 46 live streams. That's a lot. That's a lot. So Zoologia Zombie, based in Poland, although originally from Argentina. It makes me so happy. That's beautiful. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. Okay, couple things. I mentioned that I, just in time for YouTube to be banned in the US, maybe, I've started posting more on, TikTok. Just in time for TikTok to potentially be banned in the US, I have started posting more on YouTube, also on TikTok. So I'm pulling up my TikTok channel. And if you want to see what I've been posting on TikTok recently, okay, sorry about that clunk, head over to TikTok and at SongBike. I think that's all you have to do when you're on TikTok. Let me just make sure here, at SongBike Guitar. Okay, if you go to TikTok and search for me, I'm at SongBike Guitar. Just put that in the chat. And by the nature of TikTok being short videos, it serves me well, because literally I can, and I've done this. I've taught a student in person, or an online student, and the lesson ends, and I can swivel in my seat and film a TikTok video and post it in 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, and it's fun. I have so many things, sort of like You Ain't Going Nowhere, like where I can teach a whole thing, or like the thing about exploding that one finger chord. I can teach a concept in a couple minutes. I've got the paperwork here, and yeah. So next time you're on TikTok, that's where you can find me, at SongBike Guitar. And knock on wood, every issue with TikTok will be resolved, and my efforts will not be in vain. I don't know. I see a few more questions. Don't worry. I'm going to get to these questions because I love that these questions are coming in. So if you are posting questions right now, I'm going to get to those questions. Okay. Willie, Lift-A-Fly channel. Lift-A-Fly, Charlie Beagle. Okay. Charlie Beagle says, does GarageBand have some kind of looping function? I don't know. Does anybody know? I assume it does. Because GarageBand, it's about recording. And then any recording software, you can tell the software to play that thing again, loop it. So I assume it does. But if anybody knows, maybe you can answer Charlie's question. Live-to-Fly has a dumb question. Do alternate tunings affect my guitar neck? That's a great question. No, except tunings, alternate tunings that involve you cranking strings tighter. Yeah, potentially. Open E tuning, for example, open E tuning would involve making your third, fourth, and fifth strings tighter. Your third string, the G string, would crank up to G sharp, a little bit tighter. The fourth string D would be cranked up to E, definitely tighter, and same thing with the fifth string A would be cranked up to B. So that would be known as open E tuning. From skinny to fat, it would be E, B, G sharp, E, B, E. So three of the strings, would be tighter for sure. And could that, stress out your neck and lead to any problems? I wouldn't guess it would lead to any problems. But, if you left a guitar in that tuning, the guitar neck would do what guitar necks do faster than it would otherwise. And guitar necks essentially, get stressed out and need adjustment. And almost all of our guitars have a truss rod. By the way, my Fender Telecaster here, that little stripe of wood that's known as a skunk stripe, and that's where the truss rod is. It's under that dark stripe on the neck of my guitar. So every guitar, over time, the neck gets stressed out, and the that needs to be addressed by adjusting the truss rod. And I imagine by tightening the strings, if your alternate tuning involved tightening strings, that would happen sooner than it would if you didn't tighten the strings, right? Not every guitar tuning involves tightening the strings, but there's an example. So I would not worry about it. Remember, you can always change the strings that you have. You could go to a lighter or a heavier gauge of strings. For instance, if I was going to play in open G tuning a lot, involves loosening a bunch of the strings, not all of them, but a bunch of them, I might actually use a heavier string so that the strings don't feel all loose and floppy. Does that make sense? Even though I'm loosening the string, the heavier gauge would counteract that a little bit. Something to think about. But that is a great question. Willie Snyder has a dumb question. What are my thoughts on AI written lyrics? I think it's fascinating. I say go for it. Yeah, why not? Language is language. And that might surprise some of you. Well, you're going to let a computer write a song? Well, ultimately, presumably some human being is going to sign off on it, right? This goes back to, say, I'm a rhyming dictionary. Is it cool to use a rhyming dictionary? Yes, of course it's cool to use a rhyming. It's language. Like, explore the language. Have fun. You don't want to limit yourself, But I get why some people would be like, oh, I don't want to use a rhyming dictionary. And AI is just like that taken to the extreme. The day is going to come, and I'm sure it's already here, when you're not going to know. Well, put it this way. Many of the most famous, most popular songs, especially in the last bunch of years recently, are credited to maybe 6 songwriters, 8 songwriters, all those people. It's a committee. It might as well be AI, right? Not every song, I know, but I mean, I see it over and over and over again. Some really big, I'm talking about pop hits, right? Pop, like really top 40 pop. I know music, some of you guys that might not be your thing. I get it. Now I see 5 songwriters credited. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I mean, if AI was one of those 5, it's like 4 people plus AI. I mean, at a certain point, it's like, I don't know. Is it a good song or not a good song? So we're not, when you listen to a song, it may not occur to you whether it was written by 1 person or 6 or whatever, right? Unless someone brings it up. So why not? Why not? You're not going to be able to tell, a few years from now, you're not going to be able to tell if AI contributed in any way to the song. So, on some point, a human being decided it was ready for release, and then we as a community decided if we like the song or not. And if down the road you find out that the whole thing was written by AI, even then, though, some human being had to had to ultimately decide it was good enough, it was appropriate. So nah, I don't have a problem with that. Now I wouldn't say someone is a genius and like, wow, man, that's so cool. You used AI to write your song. I don't think it's anything to be proud of, you know. The ultimate song, I mean, if it's a great song, it's a great song. Um, Personally, I wouldn't go around telling people I used AI to write the lyrics, but we're not going to be able to tell. So I don't think we should all lose sleep over it. Um, if a song gets you right in your heart and you love it, that's the most important thing. And then if you want to do a deep dive and figure out where the song came from, you're welcome to. Um, yeah, but I'm glad you asked that question because yeah, fascinating, right? Well, all this sequencing stuff in the 80s where you have all that boom, 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 and a keyboard riff that's repeating. I mean, that's almost like AI music. And for a lot of us, it's what turned us off of a lot of 80s music was how, whatever you want to call it, how synthesized it sounded. It sounded like it was just done on a computer. It sounded like whatever. And that's, for a lot of us, our ear picked that up right away. And you could just hear how it didn't sound like it was being played by a group of musicians having fun. It sounded like a computer was playing it. And for some of us, it was a big turnoff right away. Like, well, I don't, but the line, don't forget J.J. Cale, one of my favorites. J.J. Cale would use a drum machine. Oh, I love, I forget. There's several great J.J. Cale songs where you can clearly hear a drum machine going boom, chick, boom, chick. It's a kind of a primitive drum machine. You can kind of hear it in the background. It's clearly not a real drummer. It's a great song. I love J.J. Cale. What are you going to do? So he used a drum machine. I don't know. So the waters get pretty muddy, So if a song means a lot to you, from the moment you hear it, enjoy that. Enjoy that. That never happens often enough, right? But so anyways, in terms of AI lyrics, in a way, we've already been hearing AI music if you consider that computer generated stuff going back to the 80s at least to be sort of like AI music. Yeah. The little that I've used AI myself, I love how AI generates ideas. All you need is a one or two ideas to be really cool ideas. You can dismiss 95% of them, but I personally have had situations where AI has generated enough ideas that a couple of them are really good ideas. I'm not talking about creating music, more like a marketing kind of thing. So I get the appeal of it. Yeah, I don't know. Those are some of my thoughts. But we're not going to be able to tell. When you see a movie, the whole CGI concept. I know nothing about filmmaking, but the whole CGI concept. A certain scene, was it CGI? Was it not CGI? It's a great question. Did you like the movie? That's also a fair question. Deborah says bass strings are usually thicker than treble strings. Yeah, yep. Maybe it depends on what kind of tuning you're using, what kind of guitar. Well, in general, you have laws of physics. To get a lower sound, you need a fatter string. But there's Nashville tuning, where don't they take off the? I hear that siren. You're not crazy. There's a siren going on there. Nashville tuning, isn't that where they take off the 3 fat bass strings and replace them with 3 skinnier strings, but tuned to the same notes, so it's still Eddie 8 Dynamite, but they're 1 octave higher, so they're skinnier. Nashville tuning. I think that's what Nashville tuning is. So yeah, there's an alternative so the 3 fat strings, our E, A, and D strings, are not fat anymore. Different kind of sound. Yeah, now we should do a thing on Nashville tuning sometime because I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about, but I could be wrong. Joseph says, how did musicians write songs before music theory was introduced? Well, there's plenty of songs that were written by trained composers, even just like pop music of its day, people who knew what they were doing. And then there's people who, was it Irving Berlin? Who was the composer? I think it was Irving Berlin, who had a regular piano, old school piano, but he could only play in the key of C. So he literally had a piano capo where he would press a button, flick a switch, do something mechanically to the piano so that he wouldn't be in the key of C anymore to the listener, but his fingers were still playing the notes in the key of C. So in effect, like a piano capo. I think it was Irving Berlin. There's some famous composer we've all heard of before who, you know, yeah, is that crazy? But, you know, you have folk music, and then you have, what's the alternative? Music made by trained professionals. So music theory, I mean, music theory has always been around in a sense. You know, people have always known what they're doing, but there's always been untrained musicians making beautiful music. When I say untrained, people who didn't literally go to music school and get taught this stuff. People like a lot of us, people who, you know, you learn a few songs and you just learn that G, C, and D sound good together. And you pick up on that very quickly just from learning songs. You don't know why, but you know G, C, and D sound good together. So you go to write a song, you're going to use G, C, and D. You might even write a great song. Doesn't mean you know anything about music theory, about composition. You found out. Remember that story about the Beatles? When they were young guys, the guys in the Beatles knew E and A, and they had heard there was a third chord, and they hopped on a bus in Liverpool, presumably, and took the bus to the other person in town that knew the third chord. Paul McCartney. So I love this story so much. And they went to find, you know, the kid who knew the B7. Got it. B7. Okay, thank you. So now they could play EA and the B7 chord. You love it, you know. So does that mean they were then trained musicians? I mean, sort of, because now they're playing. They had the information they needed. They might not have had the theoretical explanation, but they recognize, like, yeah, songs have three chords because maybe they learned some songs. The ear was telling them, like, what's that other thing that's happening? I love that. There's that story I told 1,000,000 years ago in one of our earlier live streams. I almost can't believe it's true, but Les Paul, as a young man, the Les Paul, right? As a young kid, playing the guitar, going to see, was it Roy Rogers, the cowboy singer, Roy Rogers? If it wasn't Roy Rogers, another guy like that, going to see him in concert and watching his hands so he could figure out the third chord, you know, because a lot of songs are, I mean, zillions of songs are based on three chords. If you only got two of them, you got to somehow find that third chord. Okay, so what's my point? The line gets blurry. You know, an untrained musician who picks up stuff like a lot of you folks have, you know, you pick up stuff that works and you put it to use, even without being told why it works. Your ear says, I don't need to be told that. I hear that it works. That's a beautiful thing. Hey, since we're getting close to wrapping up here, let's end the poll. If you haven't voted yet, you're down to the last few seconds to vote in our poll. We got 61 votes. The question tonight was, do you want to make your own original music? 52%, yes, definitely. 30% maybe, and 18% nah. Love it, love it. There's no right or wrong, obviously. Although there's no right or wrong, but I think it's great that half of you, more than half of you, are interested in making your own music, because a lot of what I teach is geared towards people who want to make their own music, or I present it like, hey, now that you know this concept, make something up with this concept. It doesn't have to be a hit song or even aspire to be a hit song, but it's just fun to mess around with something and make your own music, because then it doesn't feel like practicing, right? It just feels like exploring, having fun, you know, creating some cool sounds with your instrument. Okay, hey, someone mentioned earlier in the chat that little clicking sound. Yeah, it makes me crazy too. When I live stream this, I have headphones on so I don't wake up my family on Sunday morning, and I get that clicking in my ear. I hear, I know, it's not cool, and I wanna figure out how to get rid of that. Deborah says using AI for lyrics is not using your talents. Oh, 100%. Like I said, it's nothing to be proud of, but it's You know, I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, if you don't if you don't think it's a good idea, then just don't do it. And hey, you can always let the world know, hey, by the way, I didn't use AI. But then again, how are you gonna, you know, I've used a rhyming dictionary for lyrics and come up with some cool things thanks to the rhyming dictionary. And I think to myself, dang, is it like too good? You know, I mean, who cares, right? Either it's a good song or not a good song. There's no voice in the back of my head saying, I don't know if I ever would have come up with that rhyme and wrote the rhyming dictionary. It bugs me. So if it's going to bug you, avoid it. Don't do it. But that's the world we live in, you know. I'm sure sooner or later there's going to be an amazing song that we all think, oh, I love that song. And it's going to be revealed that it's the whole thing was AI. And what are you going to do, right? Are you going to decide you don't like the song anymore? Maybe. But it's like that feeling of betrayal because you made a decision from the heart that you like the song, right? You love the song. You dance to do it, whatever. You would learn on the guitar. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. I'll say it one more time. Follow your heart. You know what? Any piece of art, enjoy it, react to it, decide how you feel about it, and then it's like an A/B test, right? You know, a blindfold test, I should say. Say, man, I love that. I love it. What is it? You know, but you know, I get it though. It's tricky. It's tricky. AI is the new capo, says Joseph Galasso. Interesting. Okay. Randy, thanks for being here. Randy, you got to run. I got to run too. You know why? Because even though I've only finished half of my iced coffee, you know what? We know how that story ends. Joseph says the key of G has the B7 chord. It actually doesn't. It has a B minor chord. When the B7 shows up in the key of G, that's considered borrowing the chord from another key signature, another key. So it's you will see songs in the key of G with a B7 chord, but technically it's stepping outside the key. Charlie says, did my dad's experience in Seattle make him a bitter man? No. But we laughed about it later, like, Dad, what if you invented iced coffee? Or at least someone out in Seattle was like, you know, that's a cool idea, and the rest is history. I don't know. Okay, I think we got through all your questions. All right, you guys, look at that. We went a little bit overtime tonight. Before I forget, get yourself something for free, right? Head over to song-bike.com, song-bike.com. There it is right there on the book. Free. I don't know, just do it. Comes with a free video. The information is in the description of this video. The information guiding you to where you see the video. I want to give you guys something. Why not? If you are bound and determined to spend money, all right, you can become a member of my website. You can buy other books such as the Strum Pattern Bible, the Guitar Year One, my Christmas book. I am so proud of my books. Easy Guitar, Chord and Lead Tricks by Jonathan Kehew, published by Hal Leonard Publications. Do you know Hal Leonard Publications is the largest music publisher in the world? Holy cow. And they published my book. Can I tell you guys? I'll share this with you because I can't stop myself, and then I'll let you go. There was a moment on the Hal Leonard website where they were featuring all the books they had put out, you know, the recent, say within the last 30 days, you know. So you open the website and they begin featuring the books. And there was a brief moment where they had published a new Paul McCartney thing, a new Taylor Swift thing. But for a brief moment, when you put the website, the first thing you saw was my book. And then if you swiped, then you saw the Paul McCartney book and the Taylor Swift book. But I did a screenshot like, oh, there I am. And Paul McCartney just had to wait his turn that day. That's just how it goes. Oh, can't believe it. It was a good day, man. It was a beautiful thing. So don't let me stop you from spending money. Before long, you guys, I will have my Patreon page all set up, and it will guide you to ways that you can support what we do here and get yourself a SongBike t-shirt or hat or I don't know, lots of stuff. So stay tuned. I'll let you guys know about that. Okay. I'm looking to see if there's anything I forgot to do. Oh, there's plenty of stuff that we didn't get to. Oh my gosh, there's tons of stuff we didn't get to. All right, to be continued. I'm excited. Happy Mother's Day. I hope you guys all have some good family time tomorrow. I hope it's nice weather wherever you are. I am going to say good night. All right, to be continued. Thank you for being here. I like to say a few personal good nights. Good night. Live to Fly, 9-Ball Slim, Charlie Beagle, Rock Lobster, Live to Fly, Willie, Bobby, Deborah, Thunder Ace, you were here for the entire time. Thank you. Joseph, Willie, I know I'm repeating some names here. I see 35 of you are watching at the moment. Thank you for being here. See you next Saturday. Plenty of stuff we didn't get to this week. If you think of questions during the week, write them down. Otherwise, you'll forget them. And then ask them next week. All right, you guys. Thank you. I will see you in a week. Be good. Be safe. And hope you play your guitar a lot. Bye, you guys.